This is Tony Pitchford at BCS. Going to talk you through the BCS membership and Pluralsight benefits that we have available for your apprentices. This will be particularly of interest to those people involved in the design and delivery of curriculum, and for those of you who are looking for some alternative tracks to help your apprentices do some e-learning and support your online delivery at the moment. So, short presentation. What we're going to be looking at initially is an overview of BCS membership, and we'll talk specifically about Springboard. But I won't go into too much detail around that. There is a video that will follow this presentation looking at Springboard in a lot more detail from my colleague Nick. And but we'll touch on exactly what benefits BCS membership brings to apprentices before looking at Pluralsight and how that works and what benefits that gives to your apprentices, and how Pluralsight has been designed to help with the off-the-job reporting for providers to enable you to link the work that apprentices complete on Pluralsight back into their apprenticeship program, and the next steps that you might need to take to ensure that your apprentices can secure Pluralsight licenses through BCS. So to begin with, we'll look at BCS membership for your apprentices. So BCS, as you may know, is a membership organization. We have over 62,000 members, and activities within the membership group range from the regular uh, local networking groups. So we have around 60 chapters around the country that meet on a regular or semi-regular basis, and they will have guest speakers in. They will talk about and do some networking around local and IT issues. But we also have a platform for all of our BCS members called My BCS, where anyone can access career development and professional support from BCS. So you'll see there on the left-hand side, you have things like BCS research. So apprentices and all BCS members can look at webinars, archive material. They can get access to IT Now, the BCS member magazine, where we talk about different industry developments and hone in on particular subject matters, whether it be cryptocurrency, cybersecurity, whatever the latest trends are within IT, as well as accessing a calendar of events that BCS is putting on for our members and non-members alike. There is an e-learning hub there, which is Springboard, and again, we'll talk about Springboard a little bit more detail in the next slide. But you'll also see on the right-hand side there that there is a BCS book site. Um, some books, such as the Delivering Business Analyst Analysis book, for example, will map pretty closely to the kind of standard that your apprentices are on if they're studying business analysis. Um, and others will be more of interest to subject matter specialists. So you can see the latest publication that BCS has available, for example, is Security Operations in Practice. But these are very popular titles. As members and as accredited training providers, you can access discounts for BCS books on our BCS website. So do have a look at that. And if you think there are any titles there that you are particularly interested in, please do contact your account manager at BCS and have a chat with them about how to access discounted titles through us. But moving on to that, from that, we're going to look at Springboard and the e-learning material that's available through BCS for your apprentices via their BCS membership. So Springboard is a bite-sized e-learning platform that covers everything from personal development, personal assessments, through to skills coaching. And that can be a lot of business skills training, for example, project management, chairing meetings, taking minutes, asking for promotion. Lots of material in there that will help apprentices develop their career pathway and strengthen their position within the workplace throughout their apprenticeship. That kind of career coaching is very much designed for those people early on in their career path. And you'll notice that there's a CV builder, for example. So this is for apprentices who are looking to secure their position within an organization or beyond their apprenticeship, look at what might be next in their career path. The CV builder, they could submit a Word document of their CV. It will analyze it and it will give recommendations to help improve the searchability of their CV when they put it onto particular job boards, and you get some really good quality advice and guidance and feedback on developing your CV. The link that's on the presentation there, that's the link that will follow at the end of this presentation to Nick's video. So I won't click on that just yet, but there is a short video there that will where Nick will be talking you through Springboard and the soft skills, business skills that are available through the BCS membership package. What I'd like to look at is Pluralsight. Now, for those of you who have not come across Pluralsight before or only heard the name in passing, Pluralsight is a global e-learning platform. It specializes in IT skills, and it specializes in four key areas of IT, and those are cybersecurity, data analytics, software development, and technical support. So very much in the sweet spot for most of the apprenticeship standards that BCS works within. You'll find on Pluralsight around 6,500 pieces of content available at all levels from beginning to advanced. And that content is made available to all apprentices throughout the duration of their license with Pluralsight. It's user-driven quality. So, for example, if the rating for a particular piece of content on Pluralsight drops below their kind of key grade, it will be locked and will be taken down from the site either to review or to retire. So the quality assurance comes very much from those users that are on the site actively engaged in the content. Now, Pluralsight is an e-learning package, and as such, it can be covered by the levy funding or ESFA funding. And Pluralsight is available on a 12-month license for your apprentices through BCS. Again, there's a link on Pluralsight here to a video, and we won't look at the video just yet. What we will do is we'll talk about how this works for your apprentices when they log into Pluralsight and what they see. Depending on the track that they're following or the content that they want to view, Pluralsight works very much along the lines of kind of YouTube or Spotify, and it tracks the learner's usage and makes recommendations based on the material that they've viewed so far. So you can see at the top of the screen there, they've got the option to continue learning. So those are the modules that the apprentices have already started working on. They can go back into and complete. So they can have multiple, more than one video on the go at the time, so that they can learn a range of skills and continue developing a range of skills and pick up where they left off each time. In the middle of the screen, you've got the Skill IQ option. Skill IQ is a skill assessment um, through a short series of questions. It takes about 5 or 6 minutes to go through a series of questions on a particular topic, and Pluralsight's artificial intelligence platform will tailor the questions to the level that the apprentices appears to be comfortable working at, and will then, at the end of that assessment, make a recommendation of the content available on Pluralsight that will develop their skills further. So, if somebody, for example, wants to work on their Python programming, it will give them the software fundamentals. It will look at a little bit of the language around Python. It will assess them against all other users on Pluralsight that have a Python listed as a skill set and have taken that particular assessment, and benchmark them. And based on that benchmark, tell them where they fit in the grand scheme of things, whether that's a beginner or advanced level set of skills that they already have, and recommend content on Pluralsight that will help them to enhance and develop their skills. So that AI platform will help your apprentices develop with their technical skills. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen there the channels. Channels are groups of content that the apprentice can curate that bring all of their skills together in one particular set. So within a channel, you might have, and you can see there, perhaps the software engineer skills. There might be a broad range of material bookmark from Pluralsight into that software engineer. This is effectively like a Spotify playlist. It is pulling together the best content that you can find that's most appropriate to you and putting it into a channel. And BCS has pulled together material that we think is level appropriate for all of the knowledge modules and vendor qualifications against each of the standards. And we can make those content maps available to you so that you can hand them over to your apprentices and they can start building their own channels based on that content. When they're into a course, this is the kind of overview that they will see. So you'll see here a kind of short description of Agile fundamentals, and on the right-hand side, the course is broken down into individual modules that will take them through each section of that content. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see there is a rating of that, how many people have taken it, when it was updated, what level it's at, how long the whole course will take you, and a full description. So even without a Pluralsight license, you can view this particular information, you can see how it's working and where it fits in, and you can make a recommendation as to whether or not you think it might be suitable for your apprentices. I should just mention as well, I'm recording this on the 6th of April 2020. Pluralsight have made their entire site free for the entire month of April. So if you want to get access to the content available on Pluralsight, I highly recommend that you put your email address and your country of origin into Pluralsight and get yourself a free license and go and find out exactly what your skills are like in everything from Microsoft Office through to cybersecurity. As I mentioned earlier, BCS has mapped content for on Plurals available on Pluralsight to each of the knowledge modules. So you'll see here, this is an example taken from Infrastructure Technician. You can see that there is a Network Plus reference there and the content that we recommend for that. Again, it's a recommendation. It's not a mandatory list, but there are some, we've done a lot of the hard work for you to identify the content that we think is appropriate and signposted it to you. If you have a look at the bottom of that screenshot there of the spreadsheet, you'll see that the CCNA, ITIL, A Plus, Security Plus, Mobile Plus, all of those vendor options within the knowledge module for infrastructure technician have been listed there, and those maps are available for each standard. When an apprentice starts with a Pluralsight license, we will work with you to set up an account for them, and they'll receive a letter from BCS along these lines, and there'll be a unique link on that letter with a registration code that the apprentice must input onto Pluralsight. When they follow that link, the code will already be on the landing page for them. All they need to do is fill in the form to confirm their details, but by using that unique link, that will allocate that apprentice to you as the training provider, and this will help with tracking and managing off-the-job training for you in the future. So just to look at a little bit as to how that works, the apprentice will register on Pluralsight, activate their license, input their name and email address, and that's the only information that's key in all of this. So from a GDPR point of view, it's very, very minimal data risk in that it's an email address and a company, the name of the apprentice. That must match their work email address. So it is a work email address they're giving in, and ticking the box to say that they'll agree to the terms and conditions for Pluralsight. Once that is activated, then you as the provider can track their usage on a portal at the back end of Pluralsight, and that shows how much time they've spent on Pluralsight, what they've viewed, when they last viewed it, and lots of other bits of data about the time and duration that they've spent on that particular content, how much, as that cohort, you can put people together in cohorts, and you can pull that data through. Now, you can put an API onto Pluralsight that will link Pluralsight to your LMS system, and that will draw this data usage information into your LMS. And by automating that process, obviously that's just tracking your off the job usage. But bear in mind that apprentices might use Pluralsight for something that is not directly related to the standard or to their job function. They might have a passing interest in cybersecurity, even though they're working as a software developer, for example. It's not a direct link to their job. In which case, you need to be careful that the content they're viewing is actually tracked and linked as off-the-job training. But this is a great way of enhancing your off-the-job recording and tailoring your programs, because you can recommend specific courses that directly link to their job function. You can tailor that training specific to each apprentice and to make the program that you're delivering as bespoke as possible. Just a quick confirmation before we finish up on this. The price for the fees for this package, it's £115, £115 per apprentice per license. That is invoiced in two separate ways. One is a £40 invoice for the BCS membership. The BCS membership is for 2 years, and there is a 12-month Pluralsight license at £75. That's 12 months at £75. They're invoiced at the same time. It's a single package, but Pluralsight can be used and paid for, I should say, out of your ESFA and levy funding. But BCS membership is not an expense that can be paid for under the government rules for apprenticeship funding, and so is invoiced separately to make sure that you, from an audit point of view, everything is as clear as it can be. If you want to set up Pluralsight access for your apprentices, there is no setup fee. Simply contact your BCS account manager for more information, or if you want to go ahead with it, email any one of us with a list of how many Pluralsight licenses you think you will take in the next 12 months. So a forecast of the number of licenses that you want to set up in the next 12 months, along with the name and email address of the key point of contact within your organization who's going to be responsible for the administration of setting up the licenses and making sure that the apprentices are valid apprentices before we sign off on a license for them. So that's a forecast and a key person emailed to your account manager, and we'll help you get set up with an account on Pluralsight as quickly as possible, and your apprentices can start their e-learning the moment that they sign up. My name's Tony Pitchford from BCS. Thank you very much for your time. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Nick, who's going to do a short presentation for you on Pluralsight. Sorry, I beg your pardon, on Springboard, which is linked to Pluralsight, but he's going to do a short presentation for you on the Springboard e-learning platform from BCS. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, I'm Nick Phillips. Now, if you're a BCS member like me, there are loads of tools, knowledge, and resources available to you as a member. One of those that's really useful and perfect for this time right now, being in isolation or working from home, is a useful tool called Springboard. It's a career knowledge tool that helps you develop, gives you self-assessments, and helps you find the next step within your career. And what I want to do now is show you, so we'll take a look. To get started, you'll need to go to the BCS website. You can get there by going to www.bcs.org. From there, once you're here, you'll need to click the little man in the corner here, which will allow you to sign in to the membership portal. From here, you can see all of your tools, services, and benefits, such as career development, knowledge and resources, and community events. But right now, we're going to take a look at Springboard. From here, you can discover Springboard, and this will give you all the tools such as bite-sized e-learning, personal assessments, CV builders, and advice from employers, including career pathways. Once you reach the Springboard portal, there's a lot of things to offer. You can take a look at remote working, interviewing, take a look at self-development, or professionalizing your business skills. Let's take a look at remote working. From here, there are tons of resources on how to help you work from home. You can open up a resource tab and learn how to be more productive, and most importantly, stay productive while at home. You can open up the resource, and it will give you a guide and e-learning material on how best to work. There are also other useful tools out there, such as CV 360, which helps you format, create, and make the best CV from all the information that you provide. You can also score your CV and get instant feedback. Other resources that are available are tools like self-development. Wherever you are, might be in finance, communications, data, or just looking into mentoring, you can find some resources here that help you guide your way through your career. Just simply click on where you want to go, open up the course, and you're ready to go. So in short, here's a quick look at Springboard. Loads of resources can help you with your career, so why not drop by, take a look at what we've got to offer, and it's available to all BCS members. Good luck.
Hi there, and thank you. Today we're going to be covering a little bit about remote training options. Purpose of this isn't to teach you in depth how to deliver remote training or virtual learning. The purpose of this is to give you a few pointers and a few tips on how you can support your apprentices while they are working from home. So the main areas that we are going to cover are the progress of knowledge modules and the progress of the portfolio. So with the knowledge modules, we're going to talk a bit about exam preparation and also a few pointers on how you could break up knowledge modules to be able to support the apprentice a little bit further. And with the portfolio, we're going to talk about what an apprentice can do when they're away from the office and how evidence could be gathered for different competencies. So working from home, just because an apprentice is working from home, it doesn't mean they can't be making progress. They could be making really good progress while they're working from home. They might not have as many key tasks that they're doing from work. So it's a really good opportunity to start putting together their portfolio. Learning could be done remotely. Progress can be monitored. So it may be that you're doing exactly what you're doing at the moment, perhaps with Skype calls with the apprentice. You can still monitor progress. Remember that the portfolio should be the apprentice's very best work. Evidence can still be gathered for competencies, and it may be that evidence is then assembled into the portfolio a little bit later on when everything is back to normal. But for the time being, evidence can still be gathered, and we'll talk a bit about those in a moment. Key thing to remember, though, is simulated evidence cannot be accepted. It wasn't before, it still isn't now. Every piece of evidence must come from real-world examples. Okay, so if we talk a little bit about knowledge modules, there's no set way to deliver a knowledge module. It may be done as a week block, it could be done as individual sessions. There's nothing to say that it can't be split up any further as it is. So for example, a knowledge module may have, let's say, 6 learning outcomes. It may be that knowledge module gets broken down into 3 sub-modules with 2 learning outcomes each for apprentices to work on. It could be you split it up into 6. There's no set way of how this should be done. It's down to how you want to break it up. But what it may do is help the apprentice stay on track because they're doing the learning in smaller bite-sized chunks. Progress can be tracked using online forms, and I'll give an example of that in the next slide. So for example, we're going to use digital marketer here as an example, and we're going to think about knowledge module 2, marketing principles. So some of the learning outcomes. So this is for criteria 1, which is to do with the marketing mix. We can split that into 3 learning outcomes. We could do one piece of online learning that's to do with the marketing mix and the product life cycle. So what we're going to do is perhaps start with an introductory video that could be hosted on YouTube as a private video. It could be sent to the apprentice. It could be embedded into a document, however you want to do it. They may then have some reading to do. So this is just an example that we have mocked up, but there may be some learning outcomes in there with a bit of reading for them to do, keeping it engaging. They then finish reading through that. It may be that you give them a link to an online course or something like that, but then perhaps having another video afterwards to summarize the module. Then you can go on to doing a form or a quiz. So the example that we've used here is Microsoft Forms. So it could be a mini summary quiz on basic marketing principles. So it could be it could be 5 questions perhaps. You can create some questions in there. You can set what the right answer is. You can also set it up to give the apprentice feedback. So if they click the wrong answer, you can tell them why that's the wrong answer and why the correct answer is what it is. And you can monitor that as well. So you'll know if an apprentice has done that piece of work and if they've completed that quiz, because you can get a notification. And you can actually see in the notifications how many points they got, how long it took them to do the quiz. So again, if you see that they've attempted it twice, the first time they got 1 out of 5 and it took them 5 minutes. The second time they got 5 out of 5 and it took them 20 seconds. You know they've probably not done it right. But what you can see they've got 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. You can decide what means that they've passed that mini quiz, and you can then set them the next piece of work perhaps. But that could be down to your judgment. Now, like I said, this isn't anything that we are telling you to do at all. This is just a suggestion, something that may work to support you. When it comes to gathering evidence, just to reiterate, simulated evidence cannot be accepted. Everything must be real-world examples, and the portfolio should be their very best work. But like I said a moment ago, you can still gather evidence for different competencies. It could be screenshots, it could be email chains, it could be bits of data, whatever's needed. for the competency. So an example that could apply to any standard, an apprentice could carry out a particular research task, maybe some tools that they've been using. They can talk about how that tool was used, how it could be used in a different way, and perhaps consider what other tools could have been used for a project. That would go towards evidence in most standards, especially with the significantly higher competencies. We'll break that down a little bit more in some examples by different standards. So if we start with digital marketer on the top here at the left, written communication, for example, the apprentice could gather evidence of emails that they've been sending, any collaborative tool usage such as Slack or Microsoft Teams or anything like that at all. They can show evidence of written communication. They might want to write a bit about it as well, just to give it a bit of narrative. And they could do the same with analysis as well. They could create dashboards. Now this is dependent on them having logins, and this is really down to the employer to make sure they've got the logins for it. It may be the employer doesn't want them to have the logins, and in that case there'll be other work they're probably doing. But if the case is that they've got the logins, they can create some dashboards, produce reports, write analytical statements about it. There's a lot that they can still be doing from home. An example here for cybersecurity technician. So it's adapted the language a little bit here just so it fits into the presentation. But analysing and evaluating security threats whilst away from the office, they could still analyse intelligence of a threat and remote systems. They could still access things like that if they've got access to them. Investigating different views of the future and trends in the technology area. They could be reading online news articles. They could be reviewing literature, writing notes about it, just to keep themselves current. It also helps with CPD as well. And then some examples with infrastructure technician as well. So 3 examples on here. Remote infrastructure, they could show they are configuring devices that they are using to be able to access their work remotely. IT security can definitely be evidenced working remotely, so they could be using different systems, VPNs, showing that they are splitting up content over multiple channels, so things like passwords. They should be able to access those anyway and evidence that. And then health and safety compliance. That should be evident in all apprentices anyway for IT. It just needs to be written up. We can't go into detail for every standard, every competency for every standard. We can't be here to be telling you how evidence can be gathered for every single competency. But if you have attended any of the training provider specific webinars, we do cover some of the trickier competencies on how they could be met anyway. If you haven't attended those, there are recordings available of the ones that we have done so far. So one thing that we put together, and this was shown in the digital marketer training provider webinar, we put together a possible portfolio structure. Now this could be something that apprentices might choose to follow. A similar structure could be applied to other standards as well, but what this is here is an idea for you for a portfolio structure for a digital marketer apprentice. All of the competencies in the what are outlined here. They're in bold, and a portfolio structure in this way could meet all of the competencies. We could address all of the competencies. So starting off with a bit of background information to the campaign. What was I asked to do? Why was I asked to do this? What would be my role in the campaign? Them actually interpreting a brief and conducting research. And there's the competencies that can be met there: research, data, the business environment. As part of that campaign, they're probably going to have to do some internal communication with the manager, try and find out what's needed, some planning as part of that as well. Again, they're the competencies that can be met. They're most likely going to then be creating the content themselves, publishing the content, managing the campaign. There's a whole variety of competencies that can be met there. Making it clear any problems that they encountered during that particular project, and that can help out with the problem-solving competency. And then when the campaign is finished, doing an end of campaign summary, analysis of it, and that can meet the analytics competencies. and then perhaps a personal reflection at the end. Any further learning, anything else they need to do to be able to do that better next time. Interprets and follows. So let's say that there were 3 case studies that followed this kind of structure. That can go a long way to help meeting the competencies. Okay, so fairly brief. I hope that gives you a few basic ideas. So just to recap, the 2 key areas from that were progress for knowledge modules, and we talked about that. We talked about how a knowledge module could be split up to be able to support the apprentice further. It can help you with keeping an eye on how the apprentice is doing while they are working from home. It may be, like we said, there's 6 sub-modules that you create. When they have passed the test for each of those 6 sub-modules, they may then be ready for the KM1 or the KM2 exam. You may choose to do a separate revision document that they can complete a mock exam for, and then you've got a much better idea if they're ready for the actual KM1 or KM2 exam. So once everything is back to normal again, you had to put them through the exam. We then talked about evidence gathering and how evidence can be gathered in different ways with different standards. We just gave a few examples, nothing too in depth. And then we talked about a possible portfolio structure for digital marketer. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you very much.